Hello, Culture Matters podcast. We're back again with another culture content. Before I share the topic, here is a quote just for this episode. What is great about man is that he is a bridge, not an end. What can be loved about man is that he is a going over and a going under. I love those who do not know how to live except as downgoers, for they are going over. I love all those who are like heavy raindrops falling individually from the dark cloud that hang over man. They herald the coming of the lightning and perish as heralds. Friedrich Nietzsche. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Our content topic today, our culture content topic, is why storytelling is the secret weapon of successful entrepreneurs. Why storytelling is the secret weapon of successful entrepreneurs. 2,000 some odd years ago, a pharaoh, great pharaoh, a benevolent, munificent leader, created a nation, developed order out of chaos, and reaped the fruit of that nation. The people, the people were happy, the people were cheerful, the people were in praise, the people could sigh, a big sigh, a deep sigh of relief, until one day that great leader's brother, that leader being Osiris, this pharaoh of Egypt, that leader's brother Seth, killed Osiris. See, Osiris had stopped paying attention. The attention Osiris had once paid, the attention on the vision, as a consequence of the lack of resources, of the lack of safety and shelter and food to develop the relationships necessary for his people to not be starved, but be full and have their hearts and minds full of happiness and peace. That the absence of that happiness and that peace in the past led to the responsibility of Osiris and his leaders to have vision, to pay attention, to have an aim, and to create an empire, to create a safe walled garden, a paradise, so that they could have fruit and so that they could sigh relief. But Seth killed Osiris because Osiris stopped paying attention. He stopped doing the things that got him where he aimed to be, that got his people where he had aimed them to be: safe, secure, sound, helped, in a state of peace, love, and joy. And Seth took that from Osiris, that safety, that prestige, that authority, by killing him, and took that from the people by rising up, representing malevolence, and killing Osiris. Seth wanted what Osiris had without the process. Seth saw the outcome, saw the fruit, saw the rewards. And because Osiris stopped paying attention, he abdicated the responsibility that comes as a consequence of being in that ultimate position of authority. Once the success was created, who's most capable and competent to protect it? That would be the original hero that created it. And in this case, that would be the chief, that would be the pharaoh, that would be the king, that would be the ultimate authority. But the ultimate authority was resting on his past laurels, his past successes, his past vision, and stopped paying attention, and was killed by evil, was killed by his evil brother that represents getting the fruit without the process, without the values, without the character, because the values are built in the process, in the character. So Seth killed Osiris because he stopped paying attention. But Osiris's wife bore a son with his dead corpse that had been scattered throughout the world. And that son, that orphan, could see. He had vision. He was able to see between the lines, to read between the lines. He was paying attention. He had a reason to pay attention. Horus, the hero, the representer of individuality, the representer of courage, the representer of truth, the one that sees the opportunity in the darkness, the one that sees the light deep into the dark, the one not only that understands what's wrong and that things are wrong and that things could get worse and believes that, but is willing to do something about it. How many times throughout history, how many times throughout history have people looked the other way around something that they thought was not right? How many times in your life have you not spoken up out of fear when you saw that something wasn't right? That isn't leadership. That isn't what Horus represented. Horus represented the ability, the rejuvenation of paying attention, of having that vision, and the courage to step into the dark and to fight the battle. So Horus, the orphan, the son of Osiris, who'd been killed by his brother Seth, representing malevolence, evil, and Osiris representing an abdication of responsibility that comes with once having a vision. His son Horus fights Seth and kills Seth, but he loses an eye. There's a sacrifice that comes with seeing the truth, speaking the truth, and embracing the lie, meaning living in truth, having one's values tested in action. There's a sacrifice in the process. And Horus defeats Seth, but loses his eye and saves his father from the underworld, goes to the underworld, into the unknown, and rescues his father. So we have a king, right? Osiris, once the great king, stops paying attention, gets killed by someone closest to him, who represents malevolence and evil. And his wife, who represents creativity and imagination, has offspring with his dead corpse, representing that culture can always come back, order can always come back, truth lives on despite evil's repression. Bears offspring to Horus, who kills Seth and loses one of his eyes that he used to pay attention, to see where the truth was, and to go and fight evil and live truth. Are you living truth? Are you paying attention? Do you see something that's wrong? And are you courageous enough to do something about it? Are you Osiris today as you listen to this? Or are you Seth? Have you been Seth? And why? Or are you Horus? Or potentially Horus? And yet you haven't made a decision yet to speak up, to say what is true, to embrace truth and rejuvenate the culture. Telling a story is stories teach us about the world. So stories teach us things about ourselves we may not be able to comprehend, articulate. I was ultimately in that story, I mistakenly, in one sense, another, I was an, analyzing the story as I was telling the story, right? There was two things happening as I was telling that story. I was telling the story of Osiris, Seth, and Horus, but I was also analyzing at the same time. That changes the story. It's like an exegesis on the story. A story without all the explanation, although there was a story in my explanation, which is interestingly enough, just by teaching or unpacking the story as I was telling the story was a story within a story, because there was a story unfolding itself around that story, because there's a story of the story. There's a double story. But why do entrepreneurs tell stories? Entrepreneurs aren't alone in this. We as a species tell stories to protect ourselves, to rejuvenate our potential, to pass down lessons, to bridge the gap between what is known and what could be known. It's like it's the known and the unknown. Stories help us bridge the gap. Stories help us navigate reality. Stories help us weather the storms. Stories teach us things. Stories convey messages. They transmute information. They teach lessons. They capture the hearts and the minds and the imaginations of the people. Storytelling a natural is a naturally occurring phenomenon or outcome of an individual with vision, with sight, navigating the process of actualizing that vision. You'll notice you will tell stories when you believe in something. You will tell stories when you believe in something. You will share. It will end up becoming a story. It will end up having themes of a story. You know, a beginning, a middle, and an end. A hero and an adversary, right? A because our life is a story. Our life is a story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and an end. And there is an adversary, and there is a mentor, and there is an ally, and there is, our life is a story. So I think entrepreneurs tell stories because it's a part of actually what entrepreneurship is. Because entrepreneurship is like a entrepreneurship is a naturally occurring story within the capitalistic system. Entrepreneurship represents the adventure of pursuing a truth, pursuing an idea, pursuing a potential. It's there's a subject, there's the autobiography of the entrepreneur as it's tied up and relating to the product or service that entrepreneur is attempting to bring into market. It's a very personal endeavor, entrepreneurship. A person, you, me, whoever's listening, is taking on risk, not just capital, but of reputation, of identity, and interweaving our identity with our product or service to bring something of value to the marketplace. That is what's happening when we're building a business and starting a the entrepreneur is wrapped up in a story, and that story be, you know, a vision to a solution of a problem that the entrepreneur believes is is real, is important, matters. There's value, something the entrepreneur can get in 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 um in respect or in reciprocity from solving that problem, from offering that product, from offering that service. It's a meaningful endeavor. It's an endeavor wrapped up in an aim, in a vision, in a goal that gives purpose to the entrepreneur to withstand the the difficulties, the challenges, the struggles that come with it. And part of building a company is transmuting that purpose um and transmitting it out into the world just through behavior, through speech, through channels as the company grows, right? What is a marketing department? Is a department that represents that originating vision, that originating conscious, that originating feeling, emotion, value set that was manifest from these interaction between individual and customers that the originating those employed got to experience that the originating the original customer prospects got to experience with each conversation where problems were discussed and solutions were discussed and offered. And a story is a way to transfer a message, transfer vision, transfer a problem and solution, transfer information so decisions can be made, so actions can be made. Because every action, every decision comes with a price, it comes with a sacrifice, comes with a cost, comes with a risk. And all what as individuals, we're taking calculated risks with every decision that we make on the deepest level. And a story is how information is transferred. it's an effective tool, but it's a naturally occurring tool, especially of those that have vision. The visionary or the leader, the courageous, the individual with sight that can see, who's courageous enough to speak what they see at the risk of losing everything, points us all where to go and what to look at, what's important. And there's something inside of all of us that is inspired by that, is inspired. We're in spirit, we're in the best of ourselves. So I could have spent 20 minutes talking about how, it's relatable. It bypasses cortisol or release. It creates excitement. It leads to influence. A story leads to influence. Depending on what the stories will evoke emotions and influence thoughts and behaviors and so on. But I'd rather focus on the fact that stories help us navigate the world, and we're all wrapped up in stories. Stories are a part of our human nature. The nature of our humanity is story. And why entrepreneurs tell stories is they have something to say, because they see something, and they're trying to solve to something. It- you know for whatever the cause, how much of that has to do with themselves and how much of that has to do with something bigger than themselves. There's some energy force moving through us, and it's in a story form. So why storytelling is a secret weapon of successful entrepreneurs? Because it's a secret. It's not a secret. Storytelling is a part of our humanity. So of course it can be leveraged in a way that creates alignment and momentum and value, when used properly. Of course, share this with a friend that thinks about storytelling. Please leave us a review of the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time.